Welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be showing you how to build custom shelves using the pipe brackets from Osborne, part 8703. We're going to go over some lumber options as well as some details on how to install these onto your wall. Stay tuned for some tips and tricks and we'll be right back. So as I mentioned, these brackets are part 8703 on our website. They come in this nice black finish as well as a copper finish. With your kit, you're going to get a set of 2 brackets. Now I have 2 kits here because we're going to be building 2 shelves. You're also going to get the necessary hardware needed. We have some anchors as well as a few screws to help with the install into your wall. For our lumber, we selected this 1x6 pine shelving board that we picked up from just a local hardware store. If you wanted to go with a thicker shelf, you could do that as well. Now these brackets do screw apart, but they will come assembled in the box. So there's no need to assemble these. All we're going to do is pick the orientation that we want to hang them when we get ready to hang them on the wall. Before we move on to installing our brackets, we're going to go ahead and get our shelving board prepped. We're going to add a round over with our router and just a nice wood stain. If you want to skip ahead to the install portion, you can reference this timestamp below. So I went ahead and put a small round over bit into my handheld router. I just want to soften up the outside edge of my shelving board. So I'm just going to run this over just to give it a nicer appearance. Now for the color on our shelves, we're going to be using a colonial maple gel stain. I think it's going to add a really nice contrast with the matte black pipe brackets. So I'm going to go ahead and put a coat on both of these shelving boards and then we can move on to installing them onto our wall. So now that we have the round over as well as the stain added to our shelving boards, we're ready to go ahead and start installing these. Now before we add them to our wall, we're going to go ahead and just position on the shelving boards themselves where we want our pipe brackets to sit. And an easy way to do this is to just take a level, and I like to back it up against that back flange. Now there are 2 different ways that you could orient these. If you have a longer shelf, you could add the longer side to your wall. Since I have some thinner shelves, I'm going to orient it this way. So I like to just take that level and just sit it there on that flange. And then I can just back it up to the back edge. Now this is going to be the side that's going to go on my wall, so I want to make sure that I'm flush with this flange and the back of that shelving board. Now in terms of the spacing of my brackets, that's really up to your personal preference. I'm just going to have them sit 6 inches in from the outside edge. So now that I have my wall flange flush with the back of my shelf, I'm ready to go ahead and just mark some spots here where we're going to add our screws onto the bottom of our shelves. So I'm going to go ahead and just run these in. One thing to mention is I did have to use a shorter screw. The screws that come with the kit were too long for the lumber that I needed, but I will utilize these in my wall. So now that we've got that side done, we're going to do the same thing over here. And once I like the placement on that, I'll go ahead and mark that like we did the other side. And then I can just run my shorter screw down in there. So I've just placed my shelves up here on the wall with my level on top just to make sure that I'm straight across my wall. Once I get it into the exact spot I like, I'm just going to add a mark in each flange hole, and that's going to show me where I need to install my anchors. And once we have those marked, we can remove the shelf from the wall. And now I'm going to take a drill bit that's just smaller than my anchor and just go ahead and pre-drill in all of those spots that I marked for my flange. And then once I have those drilled out, I can just take my anchors and just pop them in the wall there in each of those spots. Now I can just place the shelving assembly back up here. I'm gonna go ahead and just start 1 screw on each side, and then I'll check and just double check for my level. And then we can just finish up the rest of the screws. Alright, so that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Builder Studio. If you're interested in learning more about the pipe brackets from Osborne, I'll leave a link below as well as to the 3-tier pipe shelf kit that we have. I really like how simple these brackets are and just how much they add to the space, and they're really versatile and can be used in a number of different design styles. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment if you have any ideas for future videos, and we'll see you next time in the Builder Studio.